the turnaround on this podcast episode is not looking good. It is not looking good. So if you're watching this on a Thursday or a Friday or a Saturday, but anytime after Thursday, um, which is when you'll likely be watching it, I am sorry. Not really. I'm not really that sorry, but it's fine because I'm working on it. Um, I'm working on it. As I've said previously, the plan going forward is Mondays, Tuesdays. But sometimes stuff just happens, and I'm recording it on Wednesdays and Thursdays and getting it out on Thursdays, and yeah, it's whatever. Anyway, welcome to episode 20 of the Footy and Stuff podcast. We are 1/5 of the way to 100. Yeah. Woo! I'm not editing in streamers or balloons or sound effects. So that just looks silly. But we're leaving it in. It's fine. As I said, episode 20. We are recording it late, but we are recording it before the Carlton Collingwood game, which is good because that means we can still preview things properly. If you want to skip the round review because you know what happened, be my guest. It's fine, but I'm still going to do it. So let's get into that. Zero delays. We start off with not a Carlton game for once, which is fantastic because round 1 and 2 were both Carlton games that we start the week off with. Next week will be the same, unfortunately. However, if we happen to beat Collingwood, it'll be a good one to start the week off with next week. But for now, it's Essendon versus Port Adelaide. Essendon 9-18-72 defeat Port Adelaide 8-12-60. Should have been a lot more far out. Essendon were really good. Actually, really. Port were bad. Port were quite bad. But Essendon were good, I think, in my opinion. Yeah, just dominated them. Port were up for a lot of this game of football, and I think they'll be pretty disappointed with what they ended up getting from it in the end. But in saying that, as I said, that 9-goal 18 scoreline from Essendon could have been so much more, and then Port would have been a lot more disappointed with being pumped by 40 points or 50 points instead of the 12-point margin that it was. However, in saying that, just not good enough from Port. It's just not good enough. I can't really. How do you pinpoint what it was? I think Essendon were just a lot better than what they showed against Adelaide the week before. They were a lot cleaner, better defensively. It just worked. It just worked for Essendon on the night, I think. And Port, I don't know. I don't know. They've got a big test this week against the Saints. And we'll talk about that later. But yeah, the power, it just seemed like no one really stood up. There were some nice moments late from Jason Horne-Francis, who otherwise was generally pretty ineffective. Connor Rozee got tagged out the game. So he was not effective in the slightest. Miss Georgiades started pretty well, had 2 goals in the first quarter, and then he was pretty much unsighted for the rest of the game. Aaliyah had a hard time on Sam Draper. No one really was there to play for the Power. So I think that's pretty damning in terms of the context of the game and the fact that they only lost by 2 goals and they didn't need a lot more to get over the line, but no one seemed to do it for them. So I think that's probably what you pin it down to. And it's also something that if you're a very optimistic Power fan, something that you can look to and say, well, this is probably an anomaly and these players should be playing better on a weekly basis, and you can count on at least a few of them to pull it together week by week. So it's interesting. As I've said previously, it's so early. Like you can't judge any of these teams um to an extent this early. So yeah, Bombers look better on the night is what it is there. Blues and the Doggies. Carlton 11-9-75. Bulldogs 12-11-83. Carlton led this game for so long. So long. So we kicked the first goal, the second goal, and the third goal. And the fourth goal. And we go into quarter time. That was great for me. Great analysis. I hope you enjoyed that. We go into quarter time up by 23 points, and we kind of just maintain the gap for the whole first half. Into the third quarter, we have that gap, and they sort of peg it back a bit. and the fourth quarter they just ran us over. And this is now a thing. And I don't have the exact stats in front of me score wise, but every week until now, Carlton have started the first half brilliantly, gotten the lead, and then blown it. We did it against Richmond, we did it against the Dogs, and even against Hawthorn. Even though it was a bit closer, we still had a lead going into halftime. So we're a fast starting team, and then we just can't run games out, and I don't understand at this point. It's annoying. It's really annoying. What do you pin it down to? Do you pin it down to fitness? Do you pin it down to just the players not being good enough and not being able to play those four quarters? Do you pin it down to I don't know. I don't know. The point I'm trying to make is that it's kind of unprecedented. We've typically been a side in the past that has maybe let sides get away a bit at the start of the game and finished very well. That's always been the Carlton I've known. And now it's flipped. And I don't really know how to process that. Because we're just not finishing games properly. Usually teams who take the leads that we've been taking should know how to take a step back and alter the game style and run out games and be able to adjust to maintain those leads. And it doesn't seem like we know how to do that. Like we take that lead at half time, 3 goals right by. And I don't in the second half see any real adjustment to maintain that, if that makes sense. Like it felt like we were playing the same game and then it got sloppy and then they get rattled. It feels like there was almost this desire to just go, 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 keep going. And then they get hit on the counter and they concede goals, and then suddenly we're only up by 2 points at three-quarter time. And then they get in their own head and they start bombing the ball down the line again and making these stupid decisions, and then they get in their own head again, and it just all falls apart. And it feels like that's happened 3 weeks in a row now. Like you can pinpoint moments in all three games where that has happened to some extent. I don't know. I really don't know um what happens from here. We're all a little bit confused and frustrated as a fan base. I like to stay somewhat optimistic, so you know, we'll see what happens. But okay, if we go up against Collingwood this week and we lose, we're then going into gather round to play one of the worst off teams in the comp, and it's suddenly a must win. And I wonder, given how they've handled pressure over the last 4 weeks, how this team might handle that. I don't know. I don't know. I'd expect us fully to win, but we're talking 2 weeks in advance as well. We've got to focus on this week, and playing Collingwood and beating Collingwood, hopefully. In saying that, though, don't take anything away from the Dogs because they were fantastic, particularly in that second half and in that last quarter, to be able to fight back there. Obviously, they did do it against a team who weren't able to hack it for the reasons I just spoke about, but I thought so many of their players individually were fantastic and they worked really well together and they grinded out a win. And there's not much more you can say about that. So, doggies, well done. Let's move on to the next game, please. Melbourne versus Gold Coast on Saturday afternoon. Melbourne, 8-14-62, got pumped by the Gold Coast Suns, 18-12, 120. Before I speak about these demons, how good are the Gold Coast Suns? It's all coming together. An away win at the MCG, not just an away win, an away thumping. They were dominant. They were good. They didn't scrape it through. It was really, really good. And their senior players stood up. Their midfield is fantastic. There's a bit of talk this week of, is their midfield the best in the comp? I don't know if we can say that unequivocally yet. However, they were very, very, very good today. And as I've seen people say, when your third best midfielder is Tuke Miller, it's a pretty good midfielder. That's pretty deep. Real was fantastic. Anderson was fantastic. Miller was unbelievable. And as we said at the beginning of this year, talking about what these new acquisitions, Rioli and Noble, might bring, it's already showing in the way that they play. That the run off half back and the speed, they're playing with a lot more confidence. They're kicking more goals. Everything's just really, come together for this Gold Coast side at the right time, I think. I don't have much bad to say about their performance as a whole. Forward line looked fantastic. Jared Witts looks unreal. It's all just come together really, really well. So well done to them. Melbourne, on the other hand, oh man. Um, this D side is so interesting. So interesting. I think the problem when you look at this Melbourne side, particularly in this game, is that you look at their top end talent, their big three, Oliver, Track, and Gorn. Oliver's been pretty good. So I wouldn't blame anything on him. Track and Gorn haven't been as good, and you give them the benefit of the doubt because of coming back from injury or Gorney, whatever is going on, off field, whatnot, whatever. You probably give them both the benefit. Um, so you then look to your next group of players. And granted, Cade Chandler was very, very good last week. He did his job, but particularly in this game, I didn't see anything from the rest of their players that was outstanding to me. I thought Jake Bowie was probably better than usual. Langdon had 29, but it's not the kind of game from the rest of them as a team that is impressive to me in any sense. Like I look at the bottom rung of players really here. Just purely statistical. Jacob Van Rooyen nowhere near good enough. Jack Billings well unders for what we know he can probably do. Harry Petty not very good. Harry Sharp kicked his 2 goals. You give him the benefit there. Chandler much worse than what he was last week. So he's kind of not again now he's not contributing to the level that we know he can. Stephen May just nowhere near as good as he has been. And we know what Stephen May can do. And I feel he was dominated. Um, and that does them no favors, especially with Jake Lever gone. Bailey Fritz just 3 behinds and 15 touches. It's like you can do so much more with what you're doing in the game, if that makes sense. Viney, well unders. Sparrow, probably unders as well. Harvey Langford, fantastic, but he is 18 years of age. He's 18 years old. It's ridiculous. You can't rely on a kid to drag them out. So I just think as a team, not good enough from the D's at all. They need to bounce back massively this week. Moving on, St Kilda and Richmond. St Kilda 2015 135 defeat Richmond 7-11-53. It's an 82-point margin. The Saints looked fantastic here. And let's just get this out of the way first. Half time, the score was 6-6-42 to 5-4-34. It was an 8-point margin at halftime. They went on to win by 82. That second half of footy is one of the most dominant halves of football I've seen from a team in a very long time. Like, ridiculous. Kicked 14 goals in the second half alone. Yeah, just absurd. They were so good. Like Richmond had me thinking at halftime that they might be a chance to take them right down to the wire and potentially even win the game because we know what St Kilda can do to their fans on occasion. However, they were pretty fantastic across the board. Jack Sinclair, Jack McRae, Wangan Miller, Mason Wood was unbelievable, I thought. Mitch Owens with his 4 goals. Higgins kicked 3, I believe. Yeah, just a Collard in the second half I thought was fantastic as well with his 2 goals. Yeah, just across the board, just so good. And a good way to back up that Geelong win, I thought. Richmond, on the other hand, can't really blame them. I mean, look, this is kind of, I think, pre-season what we were expecting from the Tigers, and I think it's how it's going to unfold more often than not. They're going to give teams a battle. They're going to try hard, but they're not going to be able to run out games too consistently with the profile of players that they have. It's just how it is. 82 points in a half basically is bad. It's bad, but it is what it is. They'll get there. They will get there. Good win from the Saints, though. Next up was Hawthorn versus GWS. This was a game. Hawthorn 10-16-76 defeat the Giants 9-10-64. The way this one started, it looked as though the Giants had the flag wrapped up at quarter time because they were all over this Hawk side. Then you go into the second quarter, and it kind of seemed as though it was just the wind. It was just the wind. They were kicking with the wind, and they got away, and the Hawks snapped into gear, and they kicked 6 goals at 8 in the second quarter, and they got up, and then they ran away with it. So the Hawks get the win back in the second quarter. They kick back into the game. They're leading at halftime, and in the second half, they just kicked away. They were by far and away the better side for the rest of the game. Just a really strong team performance from the Hawks. I think that's what you're seeing from them more often than not, week on week. You saw it in the Carlton game. I think you saw it again here. They just know how to stick together. That's kind of what I'm getting at, and get the job done. And that's what they did here against a very good Giants side, mind you. Yeah, just fantastic. So many good individual performances as well. We'll talk about that in the Player of the Year votes later. But yeah, really good from them. And then we finished off Saturday night with Brisbane and Geelong. Brisbane 10-10-70 defeated the Cats 9-7-61. The Cats got away early here, and they looked really good, and they looked like they were going to run away with it hard. Because the Lions were not playing the good football, not playing the good football. However, the Lions then went on to play the good football, kept the Cats absolutely scoreless in the third quarter, got back in the lead, and then ran out the game fantastically. And they're looking really good, the Lions. They're looking very, very good in the context of the season. Another team who just know how to run games out and how to break the other team down and get the job done. And that's what they're doing. Yeah, fantastic across the board. I don't have an awful lot to say about this game because I didn't watch it live because I chose the Hawthorn Giants game. I did get to the mini match after though, and yeah, Brisbane just looked unreal, I thought. So yeah, hats off to them for getting the job done when they very easily could have folded after that first half and been beaten pretty comfortably. So yeah, good job to them. Sunday, we started off with the Crows and the Roos at Adelaide Oval. Adelaide 17-12-114 defeated the Roos 12-6-78. They won by 6 goals, but the Roos did exactly what I said they should have endeavored to do last week, if that makes sense. I mean, obviously they should endeavor to win always, but at a bare minimum, they needed to give this game a crack and stick to what they have been taught and stick to that game style that has them looking like a very entertaining team this year. And they did that 100%. They gave it a crack for a lot of this game. While Adelaide got out, a lot of this game, it was stuck at like 3-4 goals a margin. And it was a very back and forth affair. And North would peg back and then the Crows would get back out. It was very entertaining. North played well, I thought. Obviously, there are no more honourable losses for this team because they have to start making that climb now. However, the Crows were just very, very good, I thought. And there are a lot of teams that on this day, if North were playing them, they'd either win or it'd be very, very close. I thought the Crows were hard to stop for sure. Did they let North in a little too easily at times? Perhaps, given the team that they want to be. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty impressive win from the Crows overall. Yeah, not much more to say about that. North gave it a crack. They tried their best. It was a pretty good performance overall, but the Crows are just too good. And the final game on Sunday was the Western Derby, West Coast. 10-8-68, lost to the Dockers 15-16-106. Finally, we get that performance from the Dockers that shows something. It shows something. Does it show that they're a contender like what we spoke about at the start of the year? Potentially not, but they needed a performance where it was just a comfortable victory. And I thought apart from the first quarter where the Eagles had the lead at times and it was a little bit back and forth, after quarter time, it was just all Dockers and they ran right over them and it was pretty convincing. I think the brand of football that Freo played on the weekend was a lot more entertaining than what I've seen from them in the past. Obviously, they kicked 15 goals, which was a great watch. But I think that there are a number of players who have either taken on a different role or come into the club that have made this a little bit more entertaining. As I said, O'Driscoll has been fantastic. Murphy Reed has looked very good again. Dudley looked unreal kicking those two goals. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And even Shea Bolton, we spoke at the start of the year about how he would change this side and what he would bring to them. And obviously, he didn't kick any goals, only the two behinds, but you can see it. You can definitely see it with Bolton for sure. So, yeah, pretty good across the board from the Dockers. The Eagles, not so much, but I mean, they're not really expected to take it to too many teams this year, especially this Freo side that should be performing a lot better than what they have in the first couple of weeks. So I think this result was pretty indicative of where the two teams are at, and that's just pretty much all it is. So with that, we can move on to Player of the Year votes. If you're new to the podcast, pretty standard 3-2-1s, Brownlow style voting. And then I will update you on the leaderboard at the end of the segment. So, starting off with the first three games, Essendon v Port, 1 vote to Xavier Dersma, 2 votes to Zach Merritt, 3 to Sam Durham. Carlton Bulldogs, 1 to Sam Davidson, 2 to Tom De Koning, 3 to Tom Liberatore. And Melbourne versus Gold Coast, 1 to Tuke Miller, 2 to Noah Anderson, and 3 to Matt Rowell. Starting with the Bombers in the power, gave that 1 vote to Xavier Dersma. I think it was hard to pick that one voter because there were a lot of players in this game, Bombers players in particular, who really performed above the level. Archie Roberts was fantastic. I thought Jay Gresham was very good as well. He very nearly got it. But yeah, Xavier Dersma for me, I thought was fantastic. Just a really solid contribution from him across the 4 quarters. So well done to him. Zach Merritt with the 2. What can I say about Zach Merritt that I didn't say last week with the 3 voter? He's just fantastic. He's so good. Another fantastic performance. Didn't get his goals this time, 2 behinds instead, but he very nearly got 2 goals to add on to his 34 touches. And yeah, he was everywhere. Fantastic from him. The 3 votes though goes to Sam Durham, not only for shutting down Connor Rozee in the way that he did, but for looking absolutely fantastic himself in the process as well. All over the place, 28 touches, looked fantastic at stoppage. This is the kind of game that we saw a few times from him last year. And I think they really need him and Jai Caldwell to have these consistent performances and match the level of Zach Merritt week in and week out, or else they're not really going to do anything anytime soon. So, yeah, really good from him. Glad that he was able to match the level, as I said. Carlton Bulldogs, 1 vote to Sam Davidson. Coming of age performance from him. Just fantastic. He was everywhere, the kid. Really good. Easy to spot as well with the bleach blonde hair, but very good for sure. 2 votes to Tom De Koning. I think barring that last moment very late in the game where he had the ball, I think, on centre wing, and he just absolutely sprayed the kick straight onto a Bulldogs player's chest. He was faultless. Fantastic. I don't think you can blame Tommy entirely for that late moment because we shouldn't have been in that position. We shouldn't have dropped the lead that we had. And he was a big reason for us having the lead and maintaining it for as long as we did. So yeah, he's just been our best player by far this year. 2 votes to him for sure. And the 3 goes to Tom Liberatore. Just dominated us. He dominated us. 30 touches and a goal, 11 tackles, 5 clearances. He's a beast. He's an absolute beast. 3 votes on lock here for sure. The D's and the Suns was pretty clear cut. Not going to speak about it for too long. We spoke about how their midfield was as dominant as it was before. Tuke Miller 1 vote. Noah Anderson 2 votes. Matt Rowell 3 votes. Done. Matt Rowell was fantastic though. Possibly one of the best games I've ever seen him play. 36 touches, 7 tackles, 13 clearances. I spoke about how much of a beast Tom Liberatore was in that game. Matt Rowell just, possibly the performance of the weekend from him. Just so good. On to the next 3 games now. St Kilda versus Richmond, 1 to Mason Wood, 2 to Jack McRae, 3 to Jack Sinclair. Hawthorn GWS, 1 to Will Day, 2 to Nick Watson, 3 to Cam McKenzie. Brisbane versus Geelong, 1 to Max Holmes, 2 to Hugh McCluggage, 3 to Will Ashcroft. St Kilda Richmond's another fairly clear-cut one for me. Mason Wood with the 1 vote. I thought he was really good. 3 goals, 16 touches. I'm really liking this new offensive role from him, and I thought he was pretty massive for them in getting that win. So well done to Mason Wood. 2 votes to Jack McRae. Just another fantastic game from him. 31 touches, 6 tackles, 9 clearances. Really good. Really good again. And I think he's going to continue to be very good. And a hard one for oppositions to stop as well. 3 votes go to Jack Sinclair, though. 40 touches was a career high. 7 marks, 6 inside 50s, 10 score involvements. He was pretty much everywhere. and he was pretty unstoppable as well. So really good stuff from him. Hawks and the Giants, one vote I gave to Will Day. Wasn't the most outstanding game across four quarters, obviously, but it wasn't for any of the Hawks players, really. He was just so massive in them getting that lead back and then being able to bridge the gap and maintain it in that middle portion of the game. I thought he was fantastic. And it's enough for one vote. Two votes to Nick Watson. Obviously, he kicked 4 goals in that final last year, and that was the best game I've ever seen him play. But in terms of actual, like the pure football, this is one of the best games I've ever seen him play. Only had the 1 goal, but was so influential and important for the Hawks. 21 touches, 5 tackles, 9 score involvements, 5 inside 50s. Just a really impactful game across the board from him. Really impressive. The 3 votes go to Cam Mackenzie, though. Just fantastic from him. So good. I can see why people are starting to put the future Brownlow medalist tag on this kid. Because I think he has all the elements to be the game's best player. He's going to be one of the best midfielders in the comp, for sure. And with performances like that, he's only getting himself closer and closer. But yeah, really good. Deserve the 3 votes for sure. Brisbane and Geelong, I gave 1 vote to Max Holmes, 29 touches and a goal. I think for the amount of time that the Cats were in front and looked a better team here, I have to give credit to one of those players. And yeah, Max Holmes I thought was by far their best player in this game. 2 votes to Hugh McCluggage, I thought was fantastic. 30 touches, 8 tackles, 6 clearances. He was all over it. 3 votes goes to Will Ashcroft, though. This is what we want to see from him week in, week out. 33 touches, 1 goal, 5 clearances, 6 marks, 3 tackles. This is the kind of Norm Smith medal performance that he put together last year that we want to see from him week in, week out. And it's probably what the Lions need to go back to back, having him, Dunkley, and Neil doing the business week in, week out, McCluggage as well. Yeah, that is the reason that when you talk about Gold Coast and how they're potentially the best midfielder in the comp and whatnot, and Adelaide as well, you have to remember that this still exists. And when they're all on, it's impossible. They're unplayable. But yeah, Will Ashcroft I thought was the best by far on the night. And then moving on to Sunday's games, Adelaide versus North, 1 vote to Rory Laird, 2 to Jake Saligo, 3 to Taylor Walker. And then West Coast versus Freo, 1 to Luke Jackson, 2 to Andrew Brayshaw, and 3 to Caleb Sarong. Rory Laird did more than enough for the 1 vote, I thought. 32 touches. I think more often than not, he's not going to be as impactful as he used to be, but coming off halfback, he's going to have games like this a few times this year, and I thought he was really good. 2 votes to Jake Saligo. We've spoken plenty about their midfield and how good I think it is. Rankin and Saligo were both very good. Dawson was held well compared to those two, but yeah, I thought Saligo was the best of the 3. Very good from him. Again, the 3 votes goes to Tex Walker, though. 4 goals, 1 in each quarter, impactful across the whole 4 quarters, 9 score involvements as well. He was just all over it, and he was very good, very impactful, a presence. And when you're able to play this way in a forward line with Riley Thilthorpe, who I think is in fantastic form, and Darcy Fogarty, who's also in very good goal-kicking form, to be able to stand out the way he did shows the kind of player he is. It was really impressive, I thought. And for me, he was the best player on the ground. Finishing up with the Dockers and the Eagles, 1 vote to Luke Jackson, 17 touches and a goal, but was also dominant in the ruck. So dominant. His ruck work, I thought, was a big reason for why they won the game. They smashed them at clearance, and he's at the center of that. So well done to him. 2 votes to Andy Brayshaw, 29 touches, 7 tackles, 6 clearances. Just a really good game from him on the whole. Was outshone, though, by the eventual Glendinning Allen medalist for what I believe is the 4th time, which is outstanding for his age, and that is Caleb Sarong. 35 touches, 10 clearances, just absolutely dominated them all night. So good. And with that, we can update you with the leaderboard. 5 players tied on 5 votes at the top. That is Jordan Dawson, Chad Warner, Zach Merritt, Noah Anderson, and Jack McRae. Still Sidebottom just sitting underneath them on 4. And then Tom DeConing and Will Day also on 4, but I didn't want to fit them into the graphic because we've only left room for 6. But that is how the leaderboard looks heading into round 4. On to the Supercoach review now. We scored 1,972 in round 3. That was enough for top 7%. And we're now top 7% in total as well, ranked 12,530 out of 182,000 teams. There were decisions this week that could have had me even higher than 1972. And they're frustrating ones as well. I need to actually pinpoint them because I've already swapped the team around and taken the buy players out. But Murphy Reed was on my bench at 106. Xavier Lindsay was on the field, so instantly that's 97 points gone there, just off one decision. Um, Max Hall was also on my bench. He scored 85. So yeah, just little bits of points that I could have gotten that I didn't end up getting, which is a little bit annoying. But 1972, I can't scoff at that completely. Obviously, we brought in Bice and Roberts again for this week. However, Zach Reed, Luke Trainer, Connor O'Sullivan, all fantastic. As that 4-5-6 last weekend. She's all a little bit unders, but we're going to back him in. And then Whitfield and Clark, they both hit 100. They did okay. Sarong and Anderson did well. I looped Anderson. I wasn't happy with his 109. Went to Sarong and lost 4 points. So is what it is. Chera okay. Oliver a little bit unders. But I think he'll get back to that 100 plus pretty quickly. O'Driscoll fantastic. Ashcroft not as good. Murphy Reed we spoke about. And Will Day hit 103 as well. With the buy and the break even at 108, I just don't know if I'm willing to hold on to Will Day any longer. We're not as affected by injuries and omissions this week. So we have the trade to be able to get him out, and I think I'm going to do it. I just need to work out who else I'm going to swing and who I'm going to get in instead. But yeah. Nonetheless, though, 103 is very good from him too. DeConing, fantastic. Tristan Sherry was affected by injury and still scored 89, so I'm happy with that. He's playing this week, I would hope. I would hope. So we'll see. But yeah, very good from him. Rankin, Daniel, and McRae all fantastic. Davidson went better than all of them, so can't ask for any more from him. Jason Horn-Francis a little bit unders. Again, I think I'm just going to back him in at that price, and I'm just going to leave him. Max Hall I didn't field, as I said, but he scored 85. Yeah, Fino Sullivan 44 could go a bit better as well. I'm going to have a look at guys like Ashcroft and O'Sullivan scoring between 30 and 40 and see what I want to do with them. But yeah, across the board, not too bad. As I said, I can't be mad about a 1972. So yeah, that's all good there. And now we can move on to the tips, starting off with Carlton and Collingwood at the MCG on Thursday night. It's a big game. No notes. Thank you very much. Carlton by 26. Geelong versus Melbourne. I said before that Melbourne have to bounce back. But on the flip side, Geelong also have to bounce back. And I think they're much more equipped to do so than what the D's are, especially at GMHBA. So they've got that home ground advantage. They really need a win at 1 and 2 to get their season back on track because they're expecting to compete this year. Melbourne, I think, are going to slip to 0 and 4. I think it's just the harsh reality of it. So Geelong by 42 points. Gold Coast Adelaide is a huge one. A huge one. So evenly matched, these two teams. At People First Stadium, I think that is the only factor that I can use to really separate these two teams, in my opinion. I think the home ground advantage is going to be massive for the Suns here. And I think because of that, they're going to take it to 3 and 0. There's not, as I said, there's not much more that I can use to split these two teams. I think they're so even. And Gold Coast have proven to be a very good home side, so I think they're going to win this game by 15 points. Richmond, Brisbane at the MCG. Is this Brisbane's first game at the G since the grand final? Potentially so. Yeah, Brisbane are just going to walk all over this team. They're going to walk all over this Richmond team. Even if it's, again, Brisbane haven't really been starting games well. Richmond have at times taken it up to their opponents. So even if it starts fairly back and forth, I think by the end of this game, they're just going to run all over them, much like what St Kilda did in their game. Do I have the balls to tip them by as much as what St Kilda beat them, like the 80, 90 point range? I don't know. I think it's probably safe for me to just say like 10 goals. We'll say 10 goals. North Sydney. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I think right now on the tipping app, I have North Melbourne. I think I have North Melbourne, and I think I'm going to stick with North Melbourne. I think I'm going to give them the benefit based on the football that they've been playing. Competitive, really competitive against the Crows. Obviously beat the D's in the fashion that they did. fairly competitive against the Dogs as well. I think ultimately I've liked what I've seen from North more than I've liked what I've seen from Sydney. Sydney could very easily be 0-3. And they did well to grind out that game against Freo, but it wasn't pretty, and they very easily could have blown that at the end. Um, so yeah, I think I have to give North the benefit based on that. It's going to be close at Marvel, but I'm going to tip them by 7 points. I think if it was in Sydney, I'd be tipping the Swans. But away from home, I just think North might be a little bit better, which would be a massive win from them, taking them to 2-2. GWS versus West Coast. I think this is going to be a massive statement game from the Giants. They need it after the way they lost that game against the Hawks, having the lead that they had at the start of the game and then letting the Hawks get back and win it. I think they're going to make a massive statement here, as I said. So yeah, I'm tipping them by quite a lot of points. Let's go with 51 points. Port St Kilda are another difficult game to tip. It's another hard one. Port were not good against the Bombers, as we said before. I'm not full of confidence with what they bring to the table. St Kilda, on the other hand, were very good against the Tigers, very good against the Cats as well. I think if it were in Melbourne, I'd tip them with a fair bit of confidence. It being in Adelaide makes this a bit of a coin flip, just purely based on the fact that I think Port play Adelaide Oval very well. That's how our home ground works, believe it or not. No. The thing is you can never back in St Kilda with any level of confidence because you just know that while they can beat anyone on their day, they can also lose to absolutely anyone on their day. Um, so yeah, that makes it difficult. Have Port also won like a lot of games against St Kilda? I feel like they've only lost maybe two games against them in the last 10, 15 years. Like they're a bit of a bogey team for the Saints. I think I'm going to tip the Power. In Adelaide, bit of a bogey team, need to bounce back. They've got the personnel. Yeah, I'm going to tip the Power by 15 points. Freo versus the Western Bulldogs to finish off the round. Finishing off the round with the Dockers and the Bulldogs. Um, I think this is just another game where I'm going to back in the home advantage. As boring as it is, again, probably based on what we've seen so far this year, very evenly matched. Obviously, the Dockers didn't look very good in those first two games, looked a lot better against the Eagles, and we feel they're going to kind of hit a groove now. Whereas the Dogs have looked pretty good across all three games. I think I'm just going to lean towards the Dockers here and back them in to carry on that momentum from that Eagles game. A lot of it comes from the faith that I put in them at the start of the year. Um, and banking on them to really push back into that contender category. But yeah, I think they're just going to be a little bit too good for the Dogs here rather. So yeah, 10 points for the Dockers. And there it is. Starting off next week with Gather Round Adelaide versus Geelong. Going to be very exciting. It's going to be very exciting. And I can't wait. I'm not going this year. But it'll be good to watch. It'll be great to watch for sure. So with that, we have reached the end of episode 20 of the Footy and Stuff podcast. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the footy this weekend. As usual, all the social links are in the description. Follow all those, the TikToks, the Twitter, Instagram, follow it all. Like, subscribe, leave all your comments and suggestions because they always help. And with that, I will see you next week.